Alright peeps, looks like we're up for, the 21st installment of the Double Salute House shit. The first segment is Super Mario Bros., which is a platform game series created by Nintendo starring their mascot Mario. It is a central series of the greater Mario franchise. At least one Super Mario game has been released for every major Nintendo video game console. The second segment is Minority Report, a 2002 American science fiction action film directed by Steven Spielberg, loosely based on Philip K. Dick's 1956 novel The Minority Report. The film takes place in the Washington metropolitan area in 2054, in which specialized police department pre-crime apprehends criminals by the use of foreknowledge provided by 3 psychics called Precogs. Alright, let's get on with the shit, shall we? The Super Mario games are set primarily in the fictional Mushroom Kingdom, typically with Mario as the main playable character. He is usually joined by his brother Luigi, and often other members of the Mario cast. As platform games, they involved the player character running and jumping across platforms and atop enemies in themed levels. The games have simple plots, typically with Mario and Luigi having to rescue the kidnapped Princess Peach for the primary antagonist, Bowser. The first game in the series, Super Mario Bros., released for the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985, established the series' core gameplay concepts and elements. These include a multitude of power-ups and items that give the character special powers such as fireball throwing and size changing. The Super Mario series is a part of the greater Mario franchise, which includes other video game genres and medias such as film, television, printed media, and merchandise. More than 430 million copies of Super Mario games have been sold worldwide, making it the 6th best-selling video game series. Behind the larger Mario franchise, the puzzle series Tetris, the Call of Duty series, the Pokemon video games, and including Grand Theft Auto. Wow. Okay, the gameplay goes like this. Objectives in the games involve progressing through levels by defeating enemies, collecting items, and solving puzzles without dying. Without dying. The power-up use is integral to the series. The series has installments featuring both 2- and 3-dimensional gameplays. In the 2D games, the player character, usually Mario, jumps on platforms and enemies while avoiding their attacks and moving to the right of the scrolling screen. 2D Super Mario game levels typically have a single exit objective that must be reached within the time limit, leading to the next subsequential level. Super Mario Bros. 3, that hidden satanic game that the angry video game nerd claims that it is, introduced the Overworld, a map of non-linear levels that branches according to the player's choice. Super Mario World introduced levels with multiple exits. Wow. 3D installments in the series have had 2 subgenres: open world exploration based games and more linear 3D games with a predetermined path. Starting off with Super Mario 64, right? Okay, levels in the open world games, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Odyssey, allow the player to freely explore multiple enclosed environments in a 3-degree movement. As the game progresses, more environments become accessible. The linear 3D games, Super Mario Galaxies 1 and 2, 3D Land and 3D World, feature more fixed camera angles and predetermined path to a single goal. Okay, the series often features the option to play as characters other than Mario, usually Luigi. Earlier games have offered an alternating multiplayer mode in which the second player controls Luigi on their turn. Luigi is often only playable by player 1 in a second. More challenging iteration of the base game, such as in the Lost Levels, Super Mario Galaxy 2, New Super Luigi U, and the Special Worlds in 3D Land. These feature lower gravity and reduced friction for Luigi. Later games allow for simultaneous play. Other playable characters include Princesses Peach, Daisy, and other characters, Toads, Yoshi, Princess Rosalina, and Nabbit, among others. Characters are sometimes differentiated by special abilities. The mushroom power-ups appear in almost every Super Mario game. The most iconic of these is the Super Mushroom. That increases the character's size, turning them into a super variant and allows them to break certain blocks. When hit by an enemy, the character reverts to their smaller size instead of losing a life. When the character is in their super form, most blocks that would contain a Super Mushroom instead offer a more powerful power-up such as the Fire Flower. The Super Mushroom is similar in appearance to Amantia muscaria, with an ivory stalk below a most commonly red-white, originally red-orange spotted cap. Okay, the flower power-ups let the player character shoot projectiles. The Fire Flower, introduced in Super Mario Bros., transforms the character into a fire variant who can throw bouncing fireballs at enemies. Galaxy is the first 3D Super Mario game to have the Fire Flower. In Land and Maker 2, the Super Ball is a bouncing ball obtained from a Super Flower, which the character can use to defeat enemies and collect coins. The Ice Flower transforms the character into an ice variant who can shoot balls of ice as projectiles similar to those of the Fire Flower, that freeze enemies and blocks of ice that can be used as platforms or thrown as projectiles, as seen as the new Super Mario Bros. Wii and new Super Mario Bros. U. Yeah, don't forget about Koopa Shells, which serve as a major projectile in the series. The POW blocks, extra lives, the Starmans, warp pipes, and other shit that's too irresistible to miss. Let's not forget about the music. Much of the original Super Mario Bros. Music and sound effects have become iconic to the series and incorporated into modern games. The original Super Mario Bros. Theme, composed by Koji Kono, has become one of the most well-known video game themes around the world. Super Mario Galaxy, released in 2007, became the first game in the Super Mario series to feature orchestrated music, which would return in its sequel and other subsequent games such as Super Mario 3D World. Oh my god. Yeah, there's so many of the games that's mostly a bunch of greatest hits, and some of them are like missing. Some of them are not very good, like Mario is missing on Super Nintendo and shit. Yeah, there's also spin-offs for Luigi and Yoshi. Yeah, Wario Land, Mario Kart, Mario Party, Paper Mario, and Mario and Luigi. Damn. Yeah, even the remakes and remasters of every classic Super Mario game, sure, just as good as it gets. Shigeru Miyamoto, you are one hell of a godsend. In 2054, the federal government plans to nationally implement the Washington, D.C. prototype pre-crime police program, which has been operating for 6 years. 3 clairvoyant humans, Precogs, received psychic impressions of an impending homicide, and officers analyzed their visions to determine the location and apprehend the perpetrator before the crime can occur. Would-be killers are placed in an electrically induced coma and held in the panopticon-like prison facility. Although pre-crime has eliminated nearly all premeditated murders during its 6-year existence, spontaneous crimes of passion called Red Bull killing still occur, giving the police only a short time to act. Pre-crime chief John Anderton joined the program after his 6-year-old son Sean was abducted and never found. Man, that sucks. He suffers from depression and addiction to a drug called Neuralin, and his wife Laura has left him. Department of Justice agent Danny Whitworth audits the pre-crime operation, intent on uncovering any flaws. Agatha, one of the Precogs, experiences a flashback to a woman's drowning as Anderton watches. Curious, he learns from the prison warden that the intended victim, Anne Lively, went missing shortly after her murder was prevented. However, he also discovers that Agatha's vision of the crime is not on file. Soon afterwards, the Precogs predict that Anderton will kill a man named Leo Crow, whom he has never met. Anderton flees, prompting to Whitworth to begin a manhunt. Well, that's some serious shit. Anderton visits Dr. Iris Heinemann, a geneticist whose research led to the creation of the pre-crime, and learns that the Precogs' abilities are the result of brain damage in the womb caused by their parents' addiction to early, impure forms of neuroin during pregnancy. Heinemann explains that one Precog occasionally sees a different future vision from the others, known as Minority Report, or known as a Minority Report. These discrepancies are purged from the official record to maintain the Precogs' reputation of infallibility, but the Precogs retain their memories. If Anderton does have a Minority Report, Heinemann says it would most likely have been generated by Agatha since she is the strongest of the three. Okay, undergoing eye transplant surgery to evade retinal scanners installed all over the city. Anderton returns to pre-crime using his removed old eyes, which he had kept after the transplant surgery. He enters the temple where the Precogs are kept and kidnaps Agatha, shutting down the group mind on which pre-crime depends. Damn. With the assistance of cybercriminal Anderton searches Agatha's memories but fails to find a Minority Report for Crow's murder. However, he finds and downloads her memories of Anne's death. The two track Crow to a hotel room and find photos of many children, including his son Sean. Anderton accuses Crow of killing Sean and nearly kills him, but relents at the last moment to place him under arrest. Crow then claims he was hired to plant the photos and begs Anderton to kill him, saying that his family will only be paid if he dies. When Anderton still refuses, Crow kills himself in a manner similar to the Precog's vision of Anderton killing him. Tipped off by Anderton, Whitwer investigates Anne's case and finds discrepancies to suggest that she had indeed been murdered. And he reports his findings to Lamar Burgess, director of Precrime, who kills him with Anderton's gun, safe in the knowledge that the offline Precogs can't not reveal him to be Whitwer's murderer. Anderton takes Agatha to Laura's house, where they are finally tracked down by a tactical team of pre-crime officers. Anderton is arrested and imprisoned for the murders of Crow and Whitwer, and Agatha is returned to the other Precogs. After Anderton's imprisonment, Laura discusses Anderton's concerns about Anne Lively with Burgess. Burgess initially denies any recollection of Anne Lively, but later in the same conversion says he will look into her drowning, a detail Laura never mentioned. She becomes suspicious and breaks Anderton out of prison, allowing him to confront Burgess at a banquet celebrating the national launch of Precrime. At the banquet, Anderton pulls a call through to Burgess, confronting the director with a crime recruit in Agatha's memory that Burgess is trying to conceal. Anne, a neuron addict and Agatha's mother, had given up custody of Agatha. Sometime later, she broke her habit and tried to reclaim her daughter. Desperate to preserve Precrime, Burgess hired a man to kill Anne, knowing that Precrime would intervene, then killed her himself in the predicted manner afterwards. The Precrime technicians trained to disregard the second murder vision as an echo of the first one, deleted the record. Once Anderton began to investigate, Burgess arranged for Crow to pose as Sean's abductor in order to provoke Anderton to murder. A red ball report comes in, indicating that Burgess will kill Anderton as the two men face each other down. Anderton points out the dilemma facing Burgess. He could spare Anderton and watch Precrime to be discredited and shut down, or validate the program by killing him and going to prison. Burgess asks Anderton's forgiveness before killing himself. Anderton and Laura reconcile, with Laura becoming pregnant with another child. Precrime is abandoned and the prisoners are pardoned and released. Though many remain under police surveillance, the Precogs are moved to an undisclosed location to live in peace. Okay, so on the review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes, this movie holds an 89% approval rating based on 260 reviews, and an average rating of 8.20 out of 10. The site's critical consensus is thought-provoking and visceral. Steven Spielberg successfully combines high-concept ideas on high-octane action in this fast and febrile sci-fi thriller. The website listed among the best reviewed films of 2002. The film also earned 80 out of a possible 100 on a similar review aggregating website Metacritic based on 37 reviews, indicating generally favorable reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of B+ on an A to F scale. Wow, that's great. Oh yeah, and there's also a video game based on the fucking movie called Minority Report Everybody Runs, developed by Treyarch and published by Activision on November 18th, 2002 for the GameCube, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation 2, and the original Xbox. So in conclusion, my fellow peeps, I truly recommend Super Mario Bros. And Minority Report. Yeah, including the Minority Report video game if you're into that shit. But if you don't like the franchise or that movie itself, or the video game based on a movie for that matter, your opinions are tolerated. Man, Super Mario Bros. And Minority Report sure have underrated shit. That's good.